Let's take a look at the Twilight cast from their earliest days to today. Who would you recognize on the street? First, we've got Billy Burke, who played Charlie Swan. Billy is now 58 years old, but back when he filmed Twilight in 2008, he was just 42. You might be surprised to learn that Billy actually had an impressive career behind the camera before acting. He worked as a cameraman on several projects before taking the lead roles. Another lesser-known fact is that Billy had a pretty interesting encounter with a fan during filming. Someone tried to get him to sign a fan-made Twilight book, and Billy didn't know how to react. It was an awkward but funny moment. On set, he kept his cool in some of the more dramatic scenes. But did you know that he once had to step in as an unplanned extra in one scene when a background actor wasn't available? Billy also turned up to one of his fight scenes with a broken finger but powered through the scene, delivering his lines and stunts like a pro.
Well, probably be late for dinner. I gotta head down to Mason County. Security guard at the Grisham Mill got killed by some kind of animal.
Nowadays, Billy is active in both TV and film, with roles in series like Zoo and The Code. Now let's talk about Ashley Greene, who portrayed Alice Cullen. Ashley's 37 now, but when she was filming Twilight in 2008, she was just 21. What you might not know about Ashley is that she almost didn't land the role of Alice because she initially auditioned for the part of Bella Swan. Can you imagine? Also, she's a trained dancer, which came in handy when it came to the fast-paced fight scenes. On set, Ashley was known for pulling off some stunts without much prep. One of her most memorable moments was a chase scene where she had to jump across rooftops, and she did most of it without a stunt double. Another fact: during the Eclipse filming, Ashley actually had to wear those special contact lenses for the vampire look, and she struggled with them for weeks, until she finally found a trick to stop them from bothering her.
I'll go with Bella. Jasper and I will drive her south. I'll keep her safe, Edward.
Nowadays, Ashley is still acting, producing, and even designing jewelry. By the way, thanks Corny Hat for subscribing, we really appreciate it. Subscribe too, and you might be featured in the next video. Let's now move on to Anna Kendrick, who played Jessica Stanley. Anna is 39 years old now, but back when she filmed Twilight in 2008, she was only 23. Anna's early career actually started on Broadway, but her role as Jessica was a big leap into film. What's fascinating is that Anna had zero experience with vampire lore, and her first reaction to reading the Twilight script was to ask, "So, we're going with vampires, like real vampires, right?" She also shared that she had a hard time adjusting to Bella's angst-filled scenes, so she would often break into song or tell jokes between takes to lighten the mood on set. She also admits that during her first meeting with Kristen Stewart, she accidentally tripped over her own feet, something she still laughs about today. And here's a fun fact: Anna's acting career took a big boost after Twilight, and she quickly became an award-winning actress. These days, she's staying busy with film, and has also become a vocal advocate for various social causes.
Bella, guess who just asked me to prom? Yeah, I actually totally thought that Mike was gonna ask you.
Let's move on to Jackson Rathbone, who played Jasper Hale. Jackson's 40 years old now, but back in 2008, he was only 23. Besides acting, Jackson has always had a passion for music, which you might not know. He recorded music for his band 100 Monkeys during the filming of Twilight, and occasionally you'd hear them jamming together on set to break up the monotony of long filming hours. Interestingly, Jackson's character, Jasper, had the ability to manipulate emotions, which required him to perfect his expressions to make it look convincing. But did you know that during some of his more intense scenes, Jackson would channel his own emotions to create a truly powerful performance? He also had a ton of scenes involving weaponry, and he spent a lot of time practicing his sword fighting moves off set to perfect his fighting style. Now, Jackson is still creating music and working in film and TV.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Now let's talk about Peter Facinelli, who played Dr. Carlisle Cullen. Peter's 51 now, but back in 2008, he was just 34. Peter's known for his incredible work ethic and his deep focus on his character. But did you know that, like many actors, he had his own early struggles? He even worked as a part-time waiter before landing his big break in Hollywood. A lesser-known fact is that Peter is very close with his Twilight co-stars, especially Robert Pattinson. He even gave Robert advice on how to deal with the pressure of the role, because Peter himself had to learn how to manage the attention that came with being part of such a massive franchise. On set, Peter would often offer tips to Kristen Stewart on how to bring more intensity to her scenes, which is pretty cool to think about. Nowadays, he's still actively working in both film and television and remains involved in charity work.
No, Edward. James knows you would never leave Bella. He'll follow you.
Let's now dive into Rochelle Lefevre, who played the villainous Victoria. At 45 now, Rochelle was 29 years old when filming Twilight. One interesting fact is that Rochelle had a passion for theater long before her Twilight fame, and she even studied acting in Montreal, Canada. She also had a very different experience than her co-stars. Rochelle didn't actually get to meet Kristen Stewart until after they shot their first big scene together. On set, she was super methodical, always asking about her character's motivations, even if it meant getting into debates with the director about certain details. In fact, she said that playing a villain like Victoria was a refreshing challenge, because she had to dig deep into her own emotions. Today, Rochelle is still acting, and pursuing projects that allow her to play a range of characters.
The humans were tracking us, but we led them east. You should be safe.
Let's talk about Cam Gigandet, who portrayed James, the sadistic vampire. Cam's 42 now, but at the time of Twilight in 2008, he was 26. Cam's portrayal of James was a standout. But did you know that Cam was an absolute fan of Twilight before he ever became involved with the film? He was a huge fan of the books, which made landing the role an unexpected dream come true for him. He didn't just dive into his character's evil side, but actually researched different kinds of predators to understand the psychology behind his villainous persona. What's really cool is that during a particularly intense scene, Cam accidentally scared Kristen Stewart so badly, she almost forgot her lines. After that, they made sure to rehearse more to nail their chemistry. Now, Cam keeps a low profile but remains active in acting, especially in the crime thriller genre.
Oh, his rage will make for more interesting sport than his feeble attempt to protect you. And let's continue.
Next is Idi Agathaji, who played Laurent. Edi's 45 now, but he was 29 when filming Twilight. A bit of a fun tidbit, Idi was actually cast as Laurent after a single meeting with the director, which just goes to show how much they liked his presence. He also had an interesting relationship with the special effects team. During filming, he spent a lot of time working on the makeup, even suggesting certain tweaks to make his vampire look feel more authentic. On set, Idi was always the one to lighten the mood. He could make even the most intense scenes feel a little more fun with his humor. These days, Idi is focusing on diverse roles in TV and movies, including some more character-driven pieces.
I believe this belongs to you.
Let's talk about Gil Birmingham, who played Billy Black. Gil is 72 now, but back in 2008, he was 55. Gil had an incredible journey to get into the Twilight franchise. He's known for his work in both film and TV and has portrayed a wide variety of characters throughout his career. His portrayal of Billy Black stands out because Gil managed to bring so much warmth and strength to the role of Jacob's father, all while maintaining a level of mystery about his character. What's interesting is that Gil had to do extensive research on Native American culture before taking on the role, as he wanted to do justice to the character. On set, Gil often bonded with Taylor Lautner, who played his son, and they would rehearse together for hours to get their scenes just right. Today, Gil is still acting in a variety of roles, continuing to impress with his versatility.
Well, I'm still dancing. I'm glad you're finally here. Charlie here hasn't shut up about it since you told me you were coming.
Let's now turn to Kristen Stewart, who played Bella Swan. Kristen was only 18 years old when filming Twilight in 2008, and now she's 34. Kristen had been acting for years before Twilight, but it was her portrayal of Bella that made her a household name. One fact that most people don't know is that Kristen initially felt uncomfortable with Bella's character. At first, she struggled to figure out how to make Bella more relatable, but once she embraced the character's complexity, it became one of her most iconic roles. A particularly interesting fact from the set is that Kristen wasn't a big fan of the Twilight books before the film. She didn't even finish the first one before she got the role. But once she stepped into Bella's shoes, everything clicked. Her performance was so authentic that she actually wore a wig during some of the filming, because she couldn't make it to the hair salon in time, and she was still able to deliver one of her most emotional scenes. On a more personal note, Kristen's time on Twilight shaped her as an actor, and she's gone on to become known for taking on daring and unconventional roles in indie films. She even became the first woman to win the prestigious Caesar Award for Best Actress.
I don't really like the rain. Any cold, wet thing, I don't really.
Let's talk about Robert Pattinson, who played Edward Cullen. Robert was just 22 years old when filming Twilight in 2008, and now he's 38. What many people don't know is that Robert was actually hesitant to take on the role of Edward Cullen at first. He wasn't sure if he could embody such an intense character, and he initially didn't see himself as the perfect fit. However, after reading the script and talking to the director, he saw the character's emotional depth and decided to take the leap. One quirky fact from the set is that Robert would often use unusual methods to get into character, including listening to music on his iPod to help him transition into the right mindset. He also found himself constantly battling the uncomfortable contact lenses, which made wearing them on set a hilarious experience. But despite the difficulties, Robert's commitment to portraying Edward was undeniable. Another interesting tidbit, Robert became so well known for his portrayal of Edward that at one point, he couldn't even go out in public without being recognized. As a result, he began to embrace a more private life. Today, Robert continues to push his acting career forward, working on diverse indie films and collaborating with some of the best filmmakers in Hollywood.
Then ask me the most basic question. What do we eat?
Next, let's talk about Taylor Lautner, who played Jacob Black. Taylor's 32 now, but at the time of filming Twilight in 2008, he was just 16. One thing you might not know is that Taylor had to put in some serious work to get in shape for his role as Jacob. He gained 30 pounds of muscle in a few months to make sure his transformation into a werewolf was believable. On set, he was super focused, especially in the action scenes. Taylor has a pretty interesting relationship with the Twilight cast. He actually helped his co-star, Kristen Stewart, with a tough scene once, just by giving her advice on how to make her movements more fluid. Speaking of the werewolf transformation, Taylor mentioned once that the process of transforming into a werewolf was so complicated, it required hours of makeup that included painting his entire body in green screen suit paint. He couldn't stop laughing during the process. Now, Taylor is still acting, focusing on both movies and TV, and is involved in philanthropy.
Okay, so you gotta double pump the clutch when there's shift, but besides that, you should be good.